Back in 2019, a team of historical recreation specialists set out to see if English longbows could really defeat French armor at the Battle of Agincourt.
Whoa!
So the team they brought together was Dr. Toby Capwell, the curator of arms and armor at the Wallace Collection, Joe Gibbs, the professional archer and bowyer, Will Sherman, professional fletcher, Kevin Legg, professional armorer, and they don't appear on camera, but Chrissy Carney produced the fabric armor. And of course, it's all hosted by Todd Cutler of Todd's Workshop. And on this one, he actually credits himself as Todd Toddashini, which is me just finding out now that a professional knife maker's surname isn't actually Cutler. Anyway, they all have stellar qualifications. Obviously, Toby Capwell, curator of an arms museum. Joe Gibbs, archer and bowyer. Okay, he makes his own bows. The particular one that they're using is based off of one from the wreck of the Mary Rose. It has a 160-pound draw, which is about average for the time. The highest poundage bow found on the Mary Rose was 185 pounds. Joe says he can bend a 200-pound bow, but he can only do it 6 times a day, and he can't aim. Will Sherman, professional fletcher. Todd said he's the only person he knows that's a good enough arrow maker that it is their full-time job. And then Kevin Legg, the armorer. Todd says he's the only armorer I know who doesn't even own an arc welder. He does everything historically accurately, and he actually assists museums with old armor preservation as well. So he's been there, he's done that. And the arrowheads that they are using are specifically arrowheads that were found on the Mary Rose and patterned after some that were actually found at the Battle of Agincourt. Now, one of the questions they had to answer was, are we going to use case-hardened arrowheads? Case hardening is a process where you make the outer layer of an arrowhead or anything made out of steel harder by introducing a bunch of carbon. The problem is that that layer of carbon is so thin and it disappears so quickly that once an arrowhead's been in the ground for 50 years, you'll never know if it was case hardened or not. So they made one set of case hardened and one of non-case hardened. So the first shot goes low and punches directly through the riveted mail.
You've got... Oh, so it's just clipped underneath. You can see that wobble shockwave go up the gel, straight through the mail and the jack.
The second shot hits the center of the breastplate, and the arrow explodes, and the arrowhead goes flying. You'll notice that V shape on the breastplate, that's actually spalling protection so that fragments of a shattered arrow don't catch into your neck.
I mean, shattered the arrow completely, obviously.
You can't shoot that back at anyone, can you?
No. Wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, it's working properly. But a long story short, not a single bodkin, even at close range, even using a 160-pound draw bow, comes anywhere near actually punching through this. The best they get is one of the case-hardened arrows obviously bites into it, but again, there's no hole. So 2 weeks ago, they decided to set out again with a fully armored knight this time because the armor isn't the same thickness everywhere, and they also want to take advantage of the joints. And there are parts of this armor where they've taken steel of the same thickness, they've flattened it out, they've put it up against a hard target, and they've shot bodkin arrowheads through it just fine. But once they got it into the shape of armor and arrows started skating and you started encountering bits of basically sloped armor, the best the arrows could do was make a hole, but not enough of a hole for them to pass through. The only time that they did actual damage to the human inside is when they found the joints and went through the mail. The purpose of this video is to get you to go watch these 2 videos. It's about an hour in total, but trust me, it is absolutely worth it. These are hour-long YouTube videos, not PBS documentaries, so they know they have to keep your attention the entire time. So the conclusion is basically that when you shoot an English longbow with an English bodkin head into French plate armor, you are not going to penetrate the plate. So English longbows do not penetrate French armor, but they do defeat French armor, because all you have to do is loose enough arrows into the right spots, and eventually you're going to find a hole. And the bodkin is particularly good at punching through mail and fabric armor, which the more traditional broadheads that they used for hunting would not have been. Now, there's a particular piece of footage I haven't been able to find. I remember some documentary when I was a kid, History Channel, it might have been PBS or Discovery Channel, where they took a period bodkin and they put it in a machine so that it would basically drop it onto a piece of armor with the same force that an arrow ordinarily would have. And the thing is, they used an antique arrowhead, and I think they used an antique breastplate. I can't remember. But anyway, they drop it and it just bends the arrowhead. And I remember thinking, I need to see this test redone with an arrowhead that was just made, and I can't find that footage anywhere, and for some reason it's taken people 20 years to actually test this, but here we are. Thank you, Todd.